Well, thank you for coming today, Laurent.
Well, thank
I'm
you for
super
having me.
excited to have you here, and just I know you're a wealth of information and just one of the fun Oklahomans that I know.
Well,
So
thank you.
super excited to have you here today, and mainly wanted to kind of start by just saying what was your first memory of coming to Oklahoma?
I came here in '92
Okay.
through an exchange program.
Mm-hmm.
I was studying in France at the university in Clermont-Ferrand,
Okay.
and they have an exchange program with OU.
Mm-hmm.
I was studying civil engineering, and we were given an opportunity to have a
Mm-hmm.
6-month
Mm.
internship at OU
Okay.
under the supervision of one of OU's professors.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh, why not? Where's Oklahoma? And a few months later, here I was
Uh-huh.
landing in for my first time in the U.S., first
Mm-hmm.
time in Oklahoma, and the through that exchange, I guess I got a chance to meet Laura, who became my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and then we lived in France for about 3 years
Okay.
and came back in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
I just got laid off from my job, and she was pregnant with our first son. We thought, oh, why not give a shot to living
Mm-hmm.
in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And because our family is here, that just was a natural,
Mm-hmm.
foot in the door. Uh, but what's funny is we always thought we'd be here temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's still
Yeah.
temporary, but 28 years
Yeah.
later, I'm still
Uh-huh.
here. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I got to like Oklahoma enough to make a life here.
Mm-hmm. What things are similar between France and Oklahoma?
There are I think my well a little background in my youth. I always dreamed about living abroad,
Mm-hmm.
and for me that essentially meant Africa. I
Huh.
don't know why.
Huh. Mm-hmm.
um, and so I think in terms of level of service, level of
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
we are very much on the same level plan.
Okay.
Um, outside of that, I think when I'm asked, you're from France and you live here in Oklahoma City, I often think that the place where I'm from, Reims in
Okay. Yeah.
France, has a lot of similarities. I mean,
Hmm.
it's an agricultural
Mm-hmm.
environment. Um, there's nothing super flamboyant, or I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when we live in France, we of course have a lot of influence coming from the U.S. through movies and such, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not Miami Beach, it's not New York City,
Yeah.
but Reims is not Paris either, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So in those uh, country style vibe, I find a lot of similarities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of not metropolitan, just kind of more laid back, a little bit more
Yes.
agricultural.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Um, what do you love most? I mean, you've been here in Oklahoma for 28 years. What do you love most about Oklahoma?
I think what I discovered over time
Mm-hmm.
is how easy it is to start a business.
Hmm.
If you have a good idea or bad idea, you can start a business.
Yeah.
The bad ideas are not gonna stick,
Mm-hmm.
but if you end up with, if you're lucky enough to end up with the good ideas, you always find people that are
Mm-hmm.
willing to help, willing to cooperate,
Hmm.
to collaborate with,
Hmm.
that are gonna make that possible. And I think that's a striking difference with France.
Hmm.
I felt from a professional standpoint, from a business standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
that the French system is much more difficult to navigate.
Okay.
I was stunned the first time I was offered a job.
Mm-hmm.
I started working for a temp agency,
Mm-hmm.
and within 6 months, I was offered a full-time job at a different firm, a competitive firm. And in France, it takes 5 or 6 interviews, and it takes, you gotta wait for months before your job actually becomes reality. And I think I interviewed on a Friday, and it's like, well, what time do you want to start on Monday? And I was, I was floored.
Wow.
So that's definitely still a big, that's a big deal. I mean, if you live here in the US all your life, maybe take that for granted, but coming from a different country, that was like, wow.
So
amazing.
almost like cooperative, or people want to help here in Oklahoma,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
in France they don't like.
Right.
They,
It's
they
much more protective.
Uh-huh.
The job market is much more competitive.
Hmm.
People are not gonna let you get started, and the institutions are created here to make it easy. I mean, you want to open an LLC, you just 2 pieces of paper and a whatever $50 check, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's boom, you're in business. Super
That's
easy.
funny. One of the things I learned a while ago is that Oklahoma City has the most amount of test restaurants and business startups as well, just because the barrier for entry is so low.
Yeah.
Like you say, someone can just open up a business and they can try out their concept. If it works,
Yes.
great. If
Yeah.
it doesn't, they're not out a whole lot of money.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I've taken advantage of that. Definitely. It's been possibly the most fulfilling part of my life here.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of them.
And you've had your hand in quite a few things here in Oklahoma City.
I do. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about some of your developments, either buildings you've built,
Yes.
some of your companies.
So I have I own a structural engineering firm,
Okay.
Obelisk Engineering. Started that in 2000, and this is, I would say, still my main source of income. And since then, in 2008, I co-founded and co-created Elemental Coffee Roaster, which at the time was kind of it was bringing third wave coffee to Oklahoma City. And by third wave coffee, I mean we've gone through an evolution in the coffee appreciation. First wave would be the Folgers.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
sock juice or whatever. It's just the light coffee. That's another major difference with France. The coffee when I came here was a shock. The second phase was Starbucks,
Okay.
who brought in a little more sophisticated flair to coffee. And third wave is the highest level of roasting and selecting coffee beans to make it a connoisseur, more of a finer palate type appreciation in the coffee world. So at the time we started, there was nothing like it in Oklahoma City. At the same time, can't remember his name now, but Evoke was started.
Duncan.
Yes, yes, Jenny and
Jenny and Jason.
Jason. And the third one was Coffee Slingers.
Okay. Yeah.
So Coffee Slingers started by opening a coffee shop. We started by roasting.
Okay.
And I think Jason was doing a little bit of both, but essentially coffee shop as well. And it was another example of collaboration when we all got together. We didn't see each other as competition.
Sure.
Clearly the market was wide open, and we were able to collaborate on how to grow this new trend in the city. So we didn't invent the wheel. I mean, we just followed what was already existing in East Coast and West Coast. And we wanted to make a coffee that would... I remember at the time we were approaching high-end restaurants The idea was it's important to make a good first impression.
Sure.
How about the last impression?
Mm-hmm.
You sell bottles of, $100 bottle of wine,
Mhm.
but you serve a 99 cents cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Can we change that? Can we
Mhm.
improve that whole experience?
Love that.
And then eventually we added on the coffee shop.
Okay. I did not realize that. You started
Yeah.
with roasting.
Yes.
Okay.
We started in 2008 and we only opened the coffee shop in 2011.
Okay.
And the idea there was, unlike wine, I mean, wine is pretty easy. Well, it can become as complicated as you want it to be, but
Sure.
essentially you take a corkscrew and you open a bottle, you let it vent.
Mm-hmm.
With coffee, the user has to also know how to prep coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought it was important for us to be able to demonstrate what not only the best coffee is able to deliver, but how to make the best coffee once you got the good material. So, yeah. And then the third major thing that I started is Factory Obscura.
Okay.
We started, so it's 5 of us co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
We started in 2017.
Okay.
And Factory Obscura is a company that designs, builds, and operates immersive art space. So we opened in increments. The first one was the first space that we created was temporary. It was open for 3 months. The entrance was free. We raised funds through donation and generosity. We were able to pay our artists. So the motivation, let me backtrack a little bit, the motivation behind Factory Obscura was to create an art space that is fun. We liked the ideas of creating playground for adults.
Okay. Yeah.
And also, by doing so, create a platform that could support artists, local artists especially. We partnered with 3 artists, Kelsey, Hugh, and Tammy, who were all of the... they came to realize that most artists here moved out of town. And there's something almost not... It's what's the word I'm
Meaning,
looking
like,
for?
in order to grow their career, they had to move.
Yes.
Okay.
There was no outlet.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and there's something about in the art world that almost makes it more valuable if it comes from New York City or places like Santa Fe and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of intuitive in that we have a slew of talent here, but they'd have to move out to New York City to start selling back to Oklahoma. That made no sense. And we also wanted to value the artists as professionals, and there's very few, if not none, of professions where people are asked to work for free for dozens of years before they right. So all that we thought, well, and that really guided our the naming of our company. Like we want to do a twist on a factory, so the obscura effect of a camera obscura, to flip this idea on its head and develop a platform that could give real paying jobs to artists while they perform their crafts and art. And then so for us to do that, we decided to become a for-profit company. We incorporated as a B Corp.
Okay.
Which gives us the benefit is that we have an opportunity to say, yeah, we are for profit, but we are also we have a benevolent mission, and that mission is to support art in education. So we haven't calculated how much money we've been able to distribute to artists. Back in 2019, we had already paid over $1 million
Wow.
to various artists. So by now, so we were able to support artists in the performance, in the crafting. All medias are included.
Okay.
Videographers amongst them. Essentially, those are the three things that I created. And other than Obelisk Engineering, everything I've done is through collaboration. So it's about partnering with people that are likely minded and moving forward. And as we said earlier, it's kind of an easy few steps.
Would you say that, coming here from France, it almost sounded like the door was closed in your face there, and coming here, not only could you open a business, but you could open 3 different businesses that are in completely different things.
Completely.
And you're able to do that because like the community of people wanting to kind of jump in and do this thing and help.
Yeah, totally.
It's an interesting thing to kind of craft a narrative or bring all those together, because you've got, a coffee shop, you've got an engineering firm, and you've got this immersive art experience. Those are like 3 completely different things, but it sounded like the narrative is that happened in Oklahoma because of Oklahoma people.
Yes.
And the community that exists here.
Yes.
That's pretty incredible.
I agree. It was not intentional, but I realized recently that my progression professionally almost follows like the what's the name, the pyramid, the Maslow's pyramid, right?
Yeah.
I started with the shelter, constructed. Then I took care of the food, and now I'm taking care of the heart.
Yeah.
And I think my next endeavor is partnering with my new wife and diving into improving well-being and so working in the yoga and meditation field, to where we can also have an impact on our spirit.
Yeah.
To complete the pyramid.
That's incredible. That's pretty remarkable.
Thank you.
It was interesting too when you were talking about Factory Obscura, that there was a business model to it. I had kind of seen it. I've as it was getting developed, and I assumed it was kind of a like a volunteer art thing, where you'd come together, you'd collaborate, you'd make something interesting. But I didn't realize there was a business model to it, and that you had given back $1 million, to an artist in Oklahoma. $1 million goes a long way.
Oh yeah.
And that's pretty incredible too. That while you're moving up the chain, moving up the ladder, you're providing that foundation for someone else as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the business model came to us from Mia Wolf in Santa Fe.
Okay.
So they are the leading edge in this industry. They've their House of Eternal Return in Santa Fe has seen a huge success.
And can you say that again? I didn't
Mia Wolf.
Mia
Mia Wolf, like the cat's sound and the animal name.
Yeah.
Mia Wolf. I encourage you to check it out.
Yeah.
They built the one in Santa Fe in 2017. It was an instantaneous success.
Okay.
But as we all say, like instant success, 10 years in the making, right? They had been working at it for a long time. And they are the ones, when we first initiated that idea, 3 of us drove to St. Louis to see the City Museum.
Okay.
And the City Museum is remarkable too in their own style, and their model is slightly different than Mia Wolf. But a large collective of artists working together to build one space for people to lose themselves, basically.
Huh.
Is what Mirror World did, and we followed in their footsteps with their help. Back to again the idea of we're not competition. I remember the first time their CEO came to speak to one of the promotional event we were putting together. I had this analogy in my head of like imagine the CEO of Pepsi reaching out to Coca-Cola and ask for a little help.
Yeah.
You know, I can imagine how that went. But that's the total opposite experience we've had, and they've been very supportive from the beginning. And our plan is to continue to grow. I mean, we have a permanent site now on 9th Street by Broadway.
Okay.
And we're working toward expanding and making it bigger and better. And I think right now we have definitely a regional draw. We have a few isolated fans, across the U.S. Probably a few in Europe. But eventually we'd like to grow to the size where, the way I like to put it is, people don't happen to go to Factory Obscura because they are in Oklahoma City and they're going to just spend the afternoon there, but rather they'll make the trip to Oklahoma City because of what Factory Obscura is doing.
Like when you're looking through the magazine on the plane, it says while you're in Oklahoma City, you need to go to Factory Obscura.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you also designed one of the icons of Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Scissortail Bridge.
Yes, the Scissortail Bridge.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your idea for the inspiration for it, maybe some of the challenges that you overcame while you were building that. Tell us a little bit about Scissortail Bridge.
Yeah, the Scissortail Bridge is another collaborative story. The story goes that David Wanzer and I were... So David Wanzer is a developer with a Pivot project.
Okay.
And he and I were sharing an office in the Deep Deuce. Hans Butzer, who's now the Dean of Architecture at OU, back then was working for an architectural firm, and he was thinking about starting his own company.
Okay.
And we were just meeting to talk about the office space. And as he walks out the door and pops his head back in and is like, has any of you ever built a bridge? I said, no. Do you want to? Sure, let's do it. And then from there, it really, our team kind of aggregated like a I like to think of it as a rock band, Oh, you play the bass? Yeah, come on, play. Yeah. You're the drummer. I'm doing the sound. Yeah, we're good. We're gonna make some really good music. And but obviously, I'm putting a twist to it. But we had extremely talented people on our team. Starting with Hans Butzer, who he and his wife came back to Oklahoma City to design the memorial.
Okay.
I mean, he's the next level.
I did not realize that. Wow.
Yeah, world-renowned architect. Stan Carroll, who's also a sculptor and an architect. He taught at OSU, was on our team. Chris Ramsayer, Professor Ramsayer from Civil Engineering department at OU. So anyway, we assembled a very strong team. And we were invited to what we understand was the first competition that Oklahoma City has ever put together. And clearly coming as the underdog. I mean, they had pre-selected team led by Rand Elliott, who's also a very famous, renowned architect in Oklahoma City. They had two worldwide companies, architectural firms. So we saw the names like, oh man, these guys have offices in London, Tokyo, Paris. We're here in Oklahoma City now, little QB, just an office. 4 of us are working in the same office. But anyway, we put a lot of heart and effort into it. And when we presented our project.
Mhm.
We were lucky to be the ones,
Mm.
the project that got selected.
Mhm.
And it took us several years to design it.
Hmm.
The biggest challenge, so it was a complicated project. So many institutions had to be behind us.
Mhm.
We were to work with local communities, but also with highway authority, with ODOT,
Oh yeah.
with I
Mhm.
mean, with the
Mhm.
city. But I think the mission that the mayor had set out rang true for us to make it an iconic,
Yeah.
unique bridge. So the biggest hiccup that happened to us is the bridge had to be built before the new Interstate 40 was open,
Okay.
and we were counting on receiving a tiger grant from the federal government, and that didn't happen. So we designed for like a $7 million budget,
Mm-hmm.
and then 6 months before it had to be completed, we were told that the budget was cut in half.
Wow.
So we rolled up our sleeves and went back to the drawing board, and now it's what to create what is has been built. I think we benefited from it's never been clearly expressed, but I think we benefited from the generosity of WW Steel.
Of the what?
WW Steel.
Okay.
It's
Oh.
one of the largest fabricator of steel structures, and they are right there by the highway on Penn. And at the time, their owner and CEO, I think, has been recognized already in Oklahoma City for how much he brought to the city.
Okay.
And I think that was probably one of his pet projects.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
doubt they made a profit on it.
Right, yeah.
But that was how to squeeze in this tight budget.
Yeah.
And the result is spectacular, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I still have people texting me every now and then. I just drove on there and send me a picture of it.
Yeah.
That's
It's
really
iconic.
cool.
Yeah.
It's iconic, and it stands out. Therefore, in my mind too. I'm often asked what project I'm currently working on. I'm like, oh shoot, I've got a list of about 50, and none of them really stand out. We do a lot of smaller projects or mid-sized projects. So yeah, this one was definitely the one, and it was taxing. I mean, I can't lie. I mean, when I say it's easy to create a business, it also takes a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
But it's so rewarding.
Last question: where do you see Oklahoma City or Oklahoma going over the next 5 years? You have a unique ability. You've got your hands in a lot of different things, both on the art and the food and development.
Yes.
So, what's the picture that you can paint for us of where we're going as a city?
I think we are continuing to grow, and in my opinion, we are growing in the right direction. Like we're adding so many lifestyle improvements. I'm thinking about what makes Oklahoma City unique. I think right now is we have access to all of the entertainment, art, sport, food that big cities have to offer, and yet we don't have the costs or the traffic associated with those big cities. I like to think of Oklahoma City as what Austin might have been 20 years ago. I always hear how Austin was cool before it became cool, and now it's so cool it's not cool. But I hope we stay at that level where we can still enjoy the day-to-day and also benefit from world level type entertainment and quality of life. So I see I mean, historically, I think maps has had a huge positive impact on the city, and I hope we continue in that direction. Um, I'm excited about the trail developments, cycling, mountain biking. I think Oklahoma City is unique for the river.
Oh,
What
the
is
adventure zone, yeah, or
adventure
the
zone?
yeah.
Which is something very unexpected, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd expect rowing in New England, of course,
Right, yeah.
but in the middle of Oklahoma City, having an
Mm-hmm.
Olympic training facility
Yeah.
is definitely not a stereotype,
Mm-hmm.
which I like a lot. Uh, the We have access to climbing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the food scene continues to be more and more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We see more and more chefs that are competing at the James Beard
Yeah.
world level,
Mm-hmm.
and the art scene is getting more and more exciting as well. You know, as we when we build the support for and when we can prove to artists that they can have a fulfilling career here, then we're in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that's all very exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's construction all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm also excited about the opportunities. Hopefully, we'll see to increase travel by train. I love traveling by train, and I find the airplane so inconvenient. So I'd love to see more development, and we hear rumors about a link between here and is that Wichita, Kansas, I think.
I
That
think
would give us
so.
access
Yeah.
to the east-west railroad, and there are talks about commuters between Edmond and Norman that I think could make a difference. And that's for the city alone. I'm also I like Tulsa quite a bit too. Tulsa has a lot to offer
Yeah,
as well. So
yeah.
those two major cities, I think together we have a lot to offer.
It's changed so much since I moved here.
Yeah.
In so many of the ways that you mentioned, you know, the arts community, just we're getting big city entertainment. We're getting all of the things that normally you would have to travel for.
Yes.
And they're here, and it's such a kind of a hidden secret. I can get in my car, and in 30 minutes I can be anywhere in the city, and I can basically do anything that in the 10 years ago I would have had to fly or drive quite a bit.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I heard you say, we're basically a time machine. You know, we're basically going to Austin 20 years ago.
Right.
We can edit that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to. I mean, it seems like a stereotype. Well, Oklahoma City is always 20 years behind. But I think in this case, I see that as a plus. Hopefully, we won't repeat mistakes that maybe Austin made, and we are way ahead of many other cities in the U.S. in my mind.
Oh yeah.
I think we've had great leadership. I like all the mayors we've had since I moved here. I mean, since '95. Our current mayor is amazing.
It's incredible. So so many times in a state like ours, anytime anything goes to a vote, the vote will win to lower taxes. Like no matter what, lower taxes. And so here in Oklahoma, statewide, we have voted to lower taxes. But in Oklahoma City, we have voted 5 times in a row to voluntarily raise our own taxes to pay for things we want. Like it's rare to get both of them, but because we have done that, that's what's allowed Oklahoma City to kind of flourish. We've got the Thunder, we've got the what's the new park downtown? Is it Scissortail Park? Yeah, Scissortail Park. There's just so many things that have completely changed in a really cool way.
Yes.
And it's because the citizens of Oklahoma City decided, yeah, that looks cool. I'll pay for that myself. Yes. Yeah, it's rare.
That's such a foreign concept. When I first heard that, I was like, what? People are voting to pay more taxes?
Right.
And then I started understanding, it's like, oh, when you really give a choice, and it seems like a no-brainer all of a sudden. Like, yeah, of course we want that.
But that definitely started with our leadership as well. You know,
Yeah.
no one would vote for that without really understanding how that's going to impact them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to share about, Oklahoma or Oklahoma City?
Oh, let me think. What I'd like to see improve is our education system. That
Yeah.
that's part of the big things I'd like to, but I don't know how to solve that. It's too complicated for me.
We need a maps for education. We need people to decide that
Yeah.
for the first time, and we can probably edit this out. But it's like we voted to raise taxes for entertainment, but we have also voted to not fund education.
I know.
So it's interesting that that's kind of part of our culture.
That's the biggest conundrum that
Yeah.
I can think of. Like, why do we go that way? But
Mhm.
oh well, we're not
Yeah.
gonna answer that today.
Well, I used to be a teacher, and that's kind of what led me into mortgage industry when I started a family. So
yeah, you had to make a
Mhm.
living, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To start with, yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, great. Well, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming on here.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
for sharing.
fine.
It's
That's
always
good.
awesome just kind of hearing your perspective, just because you see from 3 different angles that most people here in the city don't get to see. So
Yeah.
thank you again.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.